Okay, so this is what we currently have in our audio slideshow. So one thing I don't like about this is how quickly the images change. So what I'm going to actually do is really quickly is fix that. So sometimes we may accidentally have each image showing a little bit too quickly. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use video track 2 here to kind of give myself space to resize the duration of these images. I'm going to click on the image and just drag it up and hover over the end until I see the red arrow and drag it to the next marker. That way it just shows double. And I'm going to do this with every image that follows. So I'm going to click and drag up and over. And now the beginning of the image will start on that marker rather than this marker. And then drag the end to the next marker. So do the same thing to the next image. And it's important to have snap on for this to work every time. That way you know the end of each clip is attaching to the end of each clip or is snapping to the marker here. And that way you're not trying to eyeball it, because our eyes sometimes don't work the best, especially when they're fatigued. So again, all I'm doing is just fixing my mistake of having each image cut too quickly. So I'm actually doubling the duration of each image. I'm just going to press the minus key to zoom out a little bit. And luckily what I did is I actually, when I was doing the beat of the music in the previous video, I actually did more than I needed. So now I have these markers up here that I can snap my images to past my music. And I'll show you how to fix the music issue in just a second. It's really, really easy. So and it looks like I made a little mistake. I can fix it there. And then I have 2 more images. And I may have to add a couple more markers. We'll see. Yep. This is really easy to add 2 more markers, so or 1 more marker really is all I need. So I'll just press spacebar and add a couple more for the beats. Click here. Okay, so this is where I'll actually hover over the end of my audio. And so Premiere Pro non-destructively allows you to trim audio. So I just hover over the end of it, and if I drag it to the right, it'll bring back that audio that I trimmed off previously, like so. And so that audio comes back in. So I'll listen to it and add a few more markers so I can add this last image. Okay, so I added 1, 2, 3 more markers for this final image, and I'll snap, and that's all I needed right there. And now what I'm going to do is click and drag and trim down the audio. Okay. All I have to do, I can keep these images here in video 2, but I'm just going to click, drag, and move them back down to video 1. Okay, wonderful. So now this is what we have. Press home, spacebar. Okay, so now what I definitely need to do is I need to fade out my audio and fade in my audio first thing. Before I do that, I'm going to click on this little wrench in my timeline and press expand all tracks. And then I'm going to go back up to it and press show video keyframes. Okay, I'll show you why we did that in just a second. So all I need to do in the beginning here, I'm going to go and press the tilde to full screen my timeline. I'm going to press plus to stretch out that, and then I'm going to hover over this gray area and just simply scroll to make that bigger. I'll do the same thing with my visuals here. So I'm just scrolling down there. So when you scroll up and down, it makes it bigger. It's really helpful. So what I'm going to do is use keyframes to add a fade out at the end there so it sounds a little more professional. I have to use the pen tool. The pen tool shortcut is P. When I do that, I hover over this line right in the middle of the audio clip, and when I see the plus, I click one time and it adds a little blue diamond that is called a keyframe, and then I can just add another one to the right of it. Click on that second keyframe and drag it all the way down to the very bottom right, and that line actually is the volume line. So I'll just let you listen to it now. Okay, so now it fades out. I actually want it to fade out a little more, so I'm going to hover over this keyframe and drag it to the left, just so it goes a little bit further. Alright, great. That sounds great. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the beginning. I'll press home. I'm going to hover over the volume line, add a keyframe, jump to the left, add another keyframe, click on that first keyframe, drag it down and to the left as far as it can go. And again, this creates a fade in of volume. This is what it sounds like. Good. And I'm going to drag that one a little bit more just because I want it to fade in a little bit longer. Press home and listen. Okay, that's all I'm going to do with the audio. Now I want to fade in my beginning and end of my visual here. So the reason why I went up to the wrench and pressed show video keyframes is because by default Premiere Pro does not show that same line that you can add keyframes to like the audio does. So when you press show video keyframes, that line actually shows, and you can see it disappear when I do that. So in the same sense, I'm going to add a keyframe here, add a keyframe here, and I'm going to make that slope look very similar. And what this does is, this is obviously not volume, it's actually adjusting and fading in opacity of the image. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the end by pressing end on the keyboard and do the same thing to the very last image and fade it out. And now I'll show you what we have. Home, spacebar. So notice that was a fade in. I'll go ahead and click to the end so you can see it. Alright, nice little fade out. Now I want to take the professionalism to the next level, and I'm going to add more keyframes to every single image to make all the images now fade in and fade out, just like the beginning of the visuals fade in and fade out. And really, really simple. All you do now is, while you're still with the pen tool, you hover over the kind of the last fourth of each image, and you add 2 more keyframes, and then the last keyframe you just drag all the way to the bottom right, and that creates a fade out to black. And then you can adjust these keyframes as needed. And now you go through and you do this. This is the kind of tedious part. It doesn't take that long, but it takes longer than most previous steps. So you're going to add 4 keyframes to every single image, just like you saw here. So one here, here, and here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And the only ones I'm moving, I'm going to drag the first one all the way down to the bottom left, the last one down all the way to the bottom right. That creates a fade in and a fade out. and I can adjust these to increase or decrease. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. And at any time I can go back and adjust the duration. Whoops, sorry about that. And I want to make sure that these beginning and end keyframes are to the very, very bottom left. So it's starting at basically if there's an opacity level, it's starting on 0 and it's ending on 0. I'm going to try to make each fade length about the same, so you want it to look the same, a nice little pattern. It's really all geometry. It looks like I need to drag that one down a little bit more. And you also notice that whenever your pen tool hovers over an actual keyframe, there's a little keyframe that pops up right beside of the pen. So Premiere Pro is actually assisting you in knowing kind of where the end of the pen is, because this line is pretty small, so sometimes you don't know if you're exactly on the line or not. And you also notice that it gives you a plus if you're over the opacity line or volume line if you're on the audio part. So I'm almost done up here. Oops. And again, I want all of them to kind of look the same. I don't want them to have significantly different. Don't know why that's happening. I don't want them all to have significantly different lengths of fade in and fade out. They should look basically the same. And even if I do screw up, all I have to do is just go back and adjust. So we've got a couple more. I know I add 2 more here because I've already added 2 there. Alright, so let's look at it now and see what we have. So I'll click on my program window, press tilde to full screen. I'll press home to go back to the beginning of the video, and now I'll press spacebar to play.